fire to all. Today, we will talk about the most important points that affect the absence of sensations. In the previous video, we learned that there are 3 points that are the most important. If you do the practice without these 3 points, you will lose sensations during fire energy receiving. I mean, you just don't feel anything or feel very little. The first point is phantom hugs. It is a very deep and meaningful practice which helps untie karma knots both with the living and the deceased. And not just with the living and with the deceased, but it also helps unfurl our previous lives like cabbage leaves and cleanse them too. But this happens on a different level. So, the first practice is phantom hugs. If you ignore it, you will definitely lose all sensations during fire energy receiving. The second practice is feeding of the essences. Feeding, acquaintance, communication with them, making friends with them. It is love and friendship that you should give to this essence, to your demon, whom and with whom you will transform with the help of fire energy receiving and communicating. We will talk about it in the next video. And the third point is something we are going to talk about right now. It is a very important point. It is the expansion of the list of the deceased. Those are the 3 points that affect fire energy receiving a lot. If you ignore them, all the sensations are gone. If you receive fire energy and you feel that the sensations are lost, then you need to check these 3 points to see in which one you have a problem. And now we are going to talk about one of the most important of these 3 points, the expansion of the list of the deceased. Why is it so important to make this list as long and deep as possible? It is very important. Why? Why is it important to dig deep into our roots? If you don't have a family tree, you will need to recreate it anew. If we don't know our roots, we don't know what our future will be like. I will tell you why. In fact, souls, and all of us, are born in the same generic egregor, so to say, in the same line, in the same generic line. In other words, we go through the circle of samsara in one certain generic line. And the deeper you dig the list of the deceased, the further you go, the higher is the possibility that you will put yourself on this list of the deceased. Do you understand? It is very interesting to realize that the more you expand the list of the deceased, the higher is the possibility that you put yourself on this list and cleanse yourself. Yourself, but in previous lives. It is a very important thing, and not only yourself, but you can cleanse your children, your parents, maybe you will even manage to do it twice or even 3 times. The longer the list is, the deeper you dig into this list, you should work out this family tree. The more of the deceased there are, the better. For instance, at the fire energy receiving practice, there is a girl. Her name is Ekaterina, and she said that she didn't know why she did this, but during 15 years, she was gathering her family tree, and she has gathered about 700 names. Just imagine how hard she worked on it. There are 700 names. By the way, she keeps a blog on our site, and she will continue doing it. She keeps a blog where she will help everyone who wants it find their roots. You can ask her about it. So, the thing is that with such deep approach, we can cleanse karma very well. Maybe it may seem scary for some people that we invite our deceased and we put the number of the deceased on our site. There is a special column for it. Basing on Ekaterina's example, we decided that you can put a maximum of 1,000 of the deceased there. So you have a long way to go, so to say. You need to take a sheet of paper and write down the names of the deceased, of your relatives and friends. And before the practice of fire receiving, between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., any time that is convenient to you, the more names there are, the better. Because you work out positive karma and cleanse your own karmas and karmas of your kindred, the longer the list is, the better. So you should take this sheet of paper with these names and read them aloud into space. You should say, in your own words, that you invite all the deceased from this list to fire energy receiving practice today at 20:20 or 8:20 p.m. And then you say all these names, Petya, Masha, Vasya, and so on, and you should say it aloud. Is it clear? And now imagine how it feels to say 700 names every day. Imagine what a serious work it is. 700 names every day. That's something. So I will tell you a little secret that you need to use. You can make a clever move. In fact, the most important thing is to give the vibration of these words into the space where we live, into the information field of the earth, into torsion fields that are controlled by the information, by words. Why do we need to say the names aloud? Because every name that you say aloud is coded immediately. Because when you say this or that name, you understand who you are talking about. You have the understanding. Even if you never saw this person in your life, your thought about him or her leaves a unique print like a snowflake. It is very important to understand how it all works. I will repeat once again that in the immediate future there will be made a lot of scientific discoveries. These discoveries will probably make clearer the things I am telling you now. You will learn how it works and why it works. Because all fields, wave energy, light energy, vibrational energy, have a certain key, code, and so on. And so, you should say it aloud to leave this message in space. If your list is very long, you can do the following. You can take a voice recorder and record all these names at once, but slowly and carefully, remembering each person properly. Just record these names into a voice recorder. All 700, 1000, 100, 200, 300 names, it doesn't matter how many. You just record all of them. And there can even be the names of famous people, as you wish. You can write down whoever you want. It doesn't matter. And once you have recorded all your long list of the deceased, you can play the recording every time before fire energy receiving practice. Anytime you want. But before playing this recording, you will have to say some words yourself. You need to say it every time. You need to say that you invite the following deceased acquaintances, relatives, and so on today at 20:20 or 8:20 p.m. to fire energy receiving practice, and then you play the recording. And this recording will transmit this information into space. It will save your time greatly, and it will work in exactly the same manner. When you do phantom hugs, you will always use this list and this method too. And every time, when you say this phrase, these people will appear like a cloud. There will be many of them, and it will be a cloud of your own deceased. This is what concerns those who have long list of the deceased. This is how you can deal with it. And now, you need to understand what I'm going to tell you. On our planet, due to some forces, there is a great amount of ghosts.
На нашей планете, благодаря неважно каким действиям, но сегодня присутствует огромное количество привидений.
Or whatever they are called now in all these horror movies and TV shows. Some dead, deceased, that come to us and scare us. These are the souls that either committed suicide or had led such a disgraceful lifestyle that they couldn't rise any higher.
Либо с помощью наложения на себя рук, это самоубийство, либо они вели настолько неблагостный образ жизни, что они просто не смогли дальше подняться.
And they stayed as these evil, spiteful spirits in our near-earth emanation. They are among us, these poltergeists that scare us. In fact, they just steal our energy. They need us to be fear generators. The highest amount of these poltergeists appeared when it was prohibited to add such people on the list of the deceased in church. It was done on purpose. It is something that should shock you.
Это было сделано намеренно. То есть это то, что вас сейчас должно повергнуть в шок.
Because when it was prohibited to read a funeral service over such people or to do other rituals that could help them go to higher spiritual levels, there appeared kind of a layer of such souls here, on our planet, in near-Earth space.
Пространстве, вот это получается такую, как вам сказать, такую вот прослойку этих душ
there appeared a lot of
было
them,
много,
so that they wandered and scared us,
всех
so that we became more and more powerful fear generators,
всё более мощных,
so that we were more and more afraid, and so that we destroyed ourselves, right?
больше и больше испытывали этот страх, и чтобы мы разрушали сами себя. Понимаете, да?
I will repeat this.
Я повторюсь.
Once you start receiving fire energy,
Энергию.
you will see immediately
Видите сразу.
that they will tearfully beg you to let them in.
Причем очень
These souls will beg you to put them on your lists of the deceased.
ставили в ваши списки
And I hope you will be sensible.
разумность.
I hope you will put these people on your lists of the deceased.
Тем самым вы будете
By doing this, you will cleanse our space, the place where we live now.
в котором мы с вами живем.
And the more there are conscious people who will put these begging souls on their lists,
И
the more there are suicides on your lists,
то есть чем
the more merciful will be your fire receiving.
будет, тем более благостным у вас будет принятие огня.
Thus, you will do a very important and serious mission on cleansing near-earth emanation.
Околоземной оболочки Земли.
It is you who will help those who were rejected even in church.
Помогать даже в
You will just help them.
Вы будете просто
You will emit love
начать
to any fellow being, to anyone. This is love. I encourage you to love every creature and every soul that surrounds you.
к любым существам и душам, которые нас окружают.
And there is no need to make any difference.
Между
We
кем
don't need to find differences.
различий
We need only love.
здесь нужна только ваша любовь.
And so, there is no question whether to put suicides on your list of the deceased or not.
Ваших
It is necessary to do it. If a person committed suicide, how else can you help them? How?
то как по-другому ему еще помочь? Как?
Only you can do it.
Если
If everybody else turned their backs on them, everybody,
учение
it was forbidden to add such people on the list in church for a reason.
просто так.
Everything in this world is done for a reason.
Всё,
Now everything is upside down.
мы живем,
We live behind the looking glass. You need to understand it.
должны это понимать.
So, we put suicides on the list. Those deceased who come to you and ask you
Те,
to.
кто к вам стучит,
They won't scare you, by no means.
они не будут вас
They will just beg you to add them on your list.
просто умолять вас записать их в список.
And once, during fire energy receiving, you feel cold sensations, you should ask questions to fire.
Вы должны просто
Right during the practice, you can ask,
в процессе, может,
"Tell me your name,"
скажи свое имя,
and there will come a name to your head.
в голову какое-то имя. Вы даже
You will even see images.
всех, кто принимает
All of us who receive fire energy see the deceased coming to us during these 3 or 4 minutes.
минут,
We
они,
can even remember somebody.
слушай, они даже вспоминают кого-то.
You know, it is a very dynamic process. Our lists grow longer all the time. They grow longer and longer. The longer your list is, the faster we will cleanse the space around us.
Чистим,
I want you to understand it.
вы это просто должны понимать.
We make long lists
Весомый и
to cleanse everybody and everything.
всякий.
It is important. Then there is one more important thing.
Такое очень важно.
Abortions.
Это аборты.
Abortions that you personally did, in case you are a woman.
Женщины.
Abortions that you took part in case you are a man.
Часть
It doesn't matter whether it was you who initiated these abortions or not.
или
Still, those were your children as well.
ваш.
There are also abortions of your parents, or parents
Родители.
know about abortions of their children.
Аборты,
You can summarize these abortions.
аборты все суммировать.
In fact, very often the sex of the aborted is not clear.
Очень часто
If it is clear, You can write down the sex,
то хорошо.
but there are no rules here.
Но
You can choose any sex for the baby. You can give it any name.
вы можете выбрать любое имя ребенку.
If there is a problem with the name and the sex, you can call all the boys Ivan and all the girls Maria. Ivan and Maria.
Девочек
These two names are the most popular here in Russia.
Иван да Мария.
Anyway, we will give names to these aborted babies whose sex we cannot determine.
Но мы, значит, будем называть именно этих именно абортируемых детей, у которых мы не можем определить пол, именно вот этими именами.
So you need to understand that in such case, every aborted baby on your list will go under this name. If there were several of them, then it will be Ivan the First, Ivan the Second, Ivan the Third, and the same is with Maria. It's all right.
Вообще абсолютно спокойно. Можете это делать.
Then there are miscarriages and the dead-born. The same thing goes for them too. There is no difference. Here we too give them this or that sex and this or that name, any name that you would give to your baby. That's all. There are no rules. You need to understand it.
Условий нет. Вот. То есть вы должны понимать это.
But keep in mind that fire energy is a different energy. Here it doesn't work like this, that we can come, shrive, and then come again a week, a month, or a year later with the same sin, and we are forgiven.
Приходим там через неделю, или через месяц, или через год с точно таким же грехом, да, и нам там все прощается. Нет.
No, it doesn't work like this here. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work like this here. You should know it. If you move towards positive coordinate system, then in future you have no right to have your pregnancy terminated. It doesn't correspond with positive coordinate system.
Это противоестественно в положительной системе координат.
And if you write down these aborted babies to your lists now and cleanse your karma, and then you make an abortion, then you will go back to square one.
Вы вернетесь ровно на то место, с которого вы начали.
And during fire energy receiving, you won't feel fire. You just won't.
Просто не почувствуете.
Because nobody will wait for anybody anymore. That's it. Time will end and shrink. It is, so to say, the last door that is open. And if you would want to enter it, then to make abortion one more time will be unnatural. Just think. You will stay in negative coordinate system then. Please understand this. It is a very important matter. Realize it. Then there is one more thing everybody asks me about. It is our pets. And it doesn't matter what kind of animal it is. But pets take huge place in our hearts. We love them very much. And the pets that are not here anymore, that are deceased, can also be put on the list. There is no problem about it.
То есть тоже просто будет как дополнительная просто единица.
This is what I wanted to tell you today. Our next video will be about feeding and getting to know the essences. We will learn to make friends with them, communicate with them, love them, feed them, and so on.
С ними дружить, взаимодействовать, любить, кормить.
And once again, if you want to take part in the building of the new world, the world of love, you can follow the links that you can see underneath the video. You can donate us some money there if you want. In our next video, we are going to feed the essences. Fire to all.